If you are a sensitive soul, highly empathic, feel things really deeply, this current time in our reality in mid 2025 is probably weighing on your heart quite a bit. It's probably something that feels heavy, that feels chaotic, that feels like it's stoking the deepest fires of grief and rage within your body. This video is for you if you're feeling that and potentially not able to get out of it, or feeling guilty that you have such privilege to be able to even watch a YouTube video and not worry about where your next meal is coming from or about bombs falling from overhead. I really want you to tune into this because I have what I think is some really powerful tools to not only shift you, but to guide you into the role that you're here to actually play, which is anchoring a completely different world where this current chaos, polycrisis, and many other troubling events politically are happening, and to a place where this no longer happens. So, unless you're living under a rock, you'll know that we are, as a globe, going through what feels like the death throes of multiple systems collapsing. Capitalism, patriarchy, all of them are kind of doing their death rolls and coming apart at the seams, but that's when they kind of tend to scream the loudest, right? These systems are screeching for relevance, and this is when they can feel like they're at their most powerful. And it's disheartening. It's really disheartening to look out into the world and feel this and see this happening. And I wanted to share a quick story. A few weeks ago at a co-working space that I go to here in Bali, which I love, shout out Tribal, we were discussing, sort of what was alive for us, what was coming up for us. And I spoke really like vulnerably about how I was feeling, kind of guilty about being in this island, tropical island paradise, full of privilege and enjoying myself so much and having such a brilliant time and feeling so fulfilled, whilst at the same time the world seems to be on fire and seems like it's kind of coming apart at the seams. And I sort of implored and kind of asked, did anyone else feel similarly? And honestly, there was probably only like one or two people who kind of had this in their mind, or that admitted to having it in their sort of awareness. And this is no judgment at all, because we all have varying degrees of our own personal problems that kind of take primacy and dominate our mental space. But this is really something that I was feeling into. And I really felt as though there was, some beautiful advice of how to kind of navigate it, but it invited me more deeply into the experience of what this moment in time is really asking for us. And this is not meant to be like the be all and end all of advice, obviously. This is just what landed for me most effectively and how I've positioned myself in relation to living a life of privilege and enjoying my life whilst also being aware of what is occurring in our world, not bypassing any rage that I feel, any grief that I'm feeling, not stopping bearing witness to what humanity is going through, whilst also simultaneously dropping into the knowing that we were not meant to simultaneously bear witness to every single crisis that is on our screens, right? We are still Paleolithic nervous systems in this information tech world, right? So this is an important acknowledgement that I feel needs to take place at the top of this video. So I don't want us to pretend that this stuff isn't happening, because it's happening for a reason. And I do want us, though, to acknowledge that we do not serve the collective energetic field and the potentiality of what's to come in the future by maintaining a constant state of hurt and rage and anger and, you know, God knows what else, right? We need to be in a space where we feel the sensations that we're feeling in the moment, preferably, or at an appropriate time, that we're tending to and embodying any kind of true feeling that we experience while we witness things or we read articles or we see what's going on in the news, and alchemize it within us. And alchemizing really is about feeling, sensing, and allowing for it to move through, for that emotion, that energy and motion to move through our system, not to get caught up, not to bring ourselves into a state of depression or anxiety around what's occurring, because that's a tendency that many empaths can have, is like in training with a dominant sensation. But the invitation here is to not do that, and instead to be more ninja-like and allow for it to move through and then arrive at a frequency that is higher, that is going to bring a different reality into play. Now, really importantly, and I want this to stick in your heads and in your bodies, is knowing that hurt people hurt people. This adage, which I think is just full of wisdom, is something that I want everyone to know. And it contains the codes of what we need to be focusing on to bring something new into play, right? If you are walking around this world consistently in a rage, there will be an aspect of that DNA within your rage that is contributing to the collective realities and seeding the future. Inadvertently, obviously unintentionally, you are seeding a future that is still filled with rage, that is still filled with recrimination, with revenge, with tit for tat, with this side versus that side. We want to completely shift into a new earth, into a new way of being. And that requires us to be really stringent with our frequency. We have a responsibility as leaders and visionaries to tend to our emotions and act on anything that we feel called to act on, whether that's advocacy or donating or contributing with our skills and abilities, whilst then using our privilege to anchor new, fresh codes of possibility for humanity at the same time. So, yes, our joy can contribute to a future that is different from the one that we are experiencing now. Yes, our pleasure can contribute to a future that is different from the one that we are witnessing out there, because remembering out there is always, to a certain extent, a refracted representation of something that we ourselves also hold within us. We need to unravel the programming that we have inherited from our past in order to create a different future. It's also really important to know that the enragement of a populace is also a very effective propaganda technique and a way to facilitate more chaos, more war, more conflict. So don't let yourself become a pawn to any kind of agenda that is trying to continue to whip up this rage and anger. Look at your information sources, double check all of the things that you are receiving from any kind of media, social or news or what have you, and try and allow for multiple perspectives to come in. And do not let the us versus them mentality, which is so seductive, it's so kind of easy to fall into a black and white narrative. Do not let that overtake you, because tending to and treating our inner world as sacred, and the inner world that will create our outer world into the future, is so important. Our outer world is making it really hard to do this But I also firmly believe that you were put on this earth, and so many other sensitive, soul led people were put on this earth at this time to do this very thing, to seed and co create something new, a new frequency, a new vision for earth. And this is that moment in time where it's crunchy, where that sensation of like birthing and the new hits its threshold, I don't think we can do this. And we are here to say yes we can, and yes we will. And so tending to our inner worlds is so important. When we refuse to let the old world control our inner world, we become the very anchors for the light of new earth. Because sensitive and soulful people like you did not come here to collapse under the weight. You came here to lead us all through it. And if you want to feel a sense of community around you while we all go through this, while we all do the thing of feeling the feelings, healing our collective through our bodies and our fields, and seeding new earth, hit the subscribe button below. My community is full of soulful people who know they're here for big legacies of service and here to anchor a new vision for humanity and the planet. So I'd love for you to join us, sending you huge amounts of love and light, but not in the bypassy way, in the social justice kind of way. And I love you. Mwah. Bye.